Welcome to episode number 2, where we are going to discuss navigating the transition to entrepreneurship. So, if you're catching us on the podcast, welcome. If you're watching us on YouTube, welcome. It's great to have you join us. Episode number 2, my goodness.
We
I
survived.
feel like I'm not
We're
as
back.
nervous. Already starting to feel a bit more confident, and we're only at number 2. Imagine what it will be like in a month's time.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to let Tanga get straight on into this. So we're going to discuss, I guess, provide some practical tips on making that transition from, being an employee to having your own private practice, so your own small business. Tanga, if you want to just, run through your experience, maybe share some highs and lows, and some practical tips for those who are interested in starting their own business.
Yeah. This is a really big topic. So I'm going to really try and focus in mainly on the top 3 even. And I'm going to also come from a lens of a financial coach, right? Because a lot of the fears of us holding on to a job that gives us perceived security of income and money can really be stopping us from stepping into what it is that, or the version of the practice that we want to create. And so probably that brings up the first key point here is notice. Notice when you are already starting to feel stressed because you're not happy with the environment that you're working in, right? And for many of us, that could look like resisting going to work, feeling bullied at work. There could be a number of different things that, a job that you might have enjoyed in the past suddenly has changed. Yeah. So I would always encourage you, because what actually happens in our system, and this is, I'm going to fall back into my trauma-informed money coaching, is that our system isn't able to think creatively. So when we are feeling stressed and we're staying in a job only because of money and because it's the only thing that's going to pay for debt, our frontal cortex flips out, right? And that means that we don't have access to that part of our brain to plan forward. So the danger is that we can, and this is what I did before I realized what was happening, shiny object. I was like over what was going on at work. I could visualize myself doing more. And so I was really just grabbing at shiny objects. And that was really impacting on finances because we weren't really going anywhere. I was borrowing for things again. And so when you're not thinking clearly and sitting in that safe space, the first thing is to notice what's happening, and the second thing is to breathe. Start to feel safe again. Know that you have the capabilities of stepping into your own thing. What are your thoughts on that from your experience?
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's almost like for me, I felt really scattered. Once I was introduced to this idea of, and this is going back, what, 6 years ago, of being introduced to this idea of being able to start my own business, I almost immediately tuned out at work. Like I started to see everything from a different lens, and it became really difficult to go to work, my 9 to 5 job. And at the time, I was a call center team leader. And even just having to ask for permission to go to the toilet, because we're in a call center, obviously they need, bums on seats. So if you're away from your computer for too long, then there's a problem. But yeah, I think just touching on what you said, it sort of changes, but it changes your perspective, but then also the fear starts to come through of, oh, I'm not good enough, or, oh, it's just too complicated. I'm not going to be able to do it. So then you just stay safe in
Yeah.
what you know. which is for a lot of people, unfortunately, it's that 9 to 5. And there's a difference between having been an employee, going to your 9 to 5, and working on something else. As you've got a vision of creating something, and then there's the 9 to 5 of just being in that box and sort of stuck in that space of there's no other options. This is all I'm good for. That's really it's quite sad to to
Yeah.
to sort of witness that. But I mean, before 6 years ago, that's sort of where I was at too. So I think once you have that realization, even just that hint of okay, there's something better out there, you've sort of got to jump on that because it's quite
Yeah.
easy to fall back into that box again. But I'll let
Yeah.
you continue. I just completely took
And
over
and
that.
and the tip for that I've begun to learn and just working with clients is to, it doesn't have to be a massive step. It could be, what's the one thing that I can do this month to start shifting into what it is that I want? And you might not even know what that is. That might be a piece. It might be such a strong feeling that you're not happy where you are. It's causing a lot of stress and heartache, that you're getting quite bitey, those types of things. But there is one thing you can do. It could be listen to a podcast. Start, getting yourself into environments where you can start to think outside where you are now. Because if, and we hear this all the time, right? You are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. 5, 7, 8, 10, whatever,
Mm.
So get into an environment where there's plenty of free things available where you can start to explore what it could look like to go elsewhere. The other thing, big thing, is real. It's a real thing. The issue around finances is real, right? And so the worst thing you can do is stop everything and just go, that's it. I'm chucking the towel and I'm going, right? There
Mm.
is actually a way that you can transition safely into your own business.
Mm.
And it's going to take you working out, how can I do the job that I'm doing part-time? Well, firstly, actually go back a step, is to work out what it is that you need to earn or your household needs to earn in order to cover your basic needs: roof over your head, food on the table, basic connections, basic repayments on loans. What's the minimum you need to get in your household? And think outside the square, because your partners or someone else might be helping you contribute to that. And so when you reverse engineer what you need to, you might actually find, well, heck, I actually don't need to be working full time,
Mm.
or I could be earning that amount of money a different way. All right. So Sam and I actually started, because we were both working full time already. So we started commercial cleaning. We were cleaning for an extra $300 a month. And some people go, you're crazy. Why would you do that for 300 a month? Guess what? That was 300 over and above what we were doing. And we only did it for 6 months.
Mm.
So start to train your brain to think outside of what's in front of you.
Yeah, so true. I and this just draws on some training that I've just recently gone through, and the coach sort of talks about your environment. So just touching on, you're the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. If your environment is not in alignment with where you envision yourself to be, what you dream, what your ideal day is, you can kiss that ideal day goodbye. It's um, if I think back to 6 years ago when I first started even considering doing my own thing, I just remember looking around me, my physical environment, and just thinking, I need to change this. I absolutely need to change this. The people around me are not reflecting what I envision my ideal day to be. Therefore, I was going onto YouTube, I was looking for motivational, videos to get me through. I was listening to podcasts. Tony Robbins, he was
Yeah.
the first mentor or the first person in this, personal development space that I listened to. And something happens to your brain when
Oh,
you have all of these different positive inputs and you change that environment. So, at this point in time for you, you may not be able to change your physical environment, but you can absolutely change what you're listening into. Even Instagram, who are the people that you're following?
yeah.
Um, if you're wanting to create your own business, to have the flexibility to see a certain amount of clients, charge, accordingly, so that, again, what Tanga was saying, it's, meeting all your needs, your basic needs plus more. What do you need to do, and who are the people that you need to be surrounded by in order to create that belief that you can do that? Um, yeah, it's such a huge topic, and I feel really passionate about it too. You might
Yeah.
be able to sort of pick up on that energy,
I'm
because
tearing up.
it does sadden me. And I've got friends, I've got family even, who are just so talented, and they have the skill set to be able to branch off and do their own thing and earn triple what they're earning as an employee. But the thing that stops them is their mindset, and just
Yeah.
not having the belief that they can do it, and not creating, an appropriate environment so that they can win. Anyway.
Love it. I so love it. And it's not our fault. If you think about all of the layers of conditioning that have created this idea that, you know, you study, you get a good education, you go to uni or college or whatever it is, and then you get a good job, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just so inbred in us, even before we even realize it. So when we start to peel back those things, who do you go to for advice? You go to the people who actually believe that so much that they're going to tell you you're a friggin' idiot,
Mm-hmm.
right? Don't start thinking like that. You need to be safe. And so I would always encourage you to reach out for that light, for that hope, like what Anna was describing there. It is hope. When you start to get information and resources outside of this environment that's keeping you where you are, they feel safe that you're there. So when you start asking questions to break out of the pond that you're in, you're going to get a lot of resistance and a lot of reasons why you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's another key thing. I think we've covered on several different themes there, but if this is resonating with you, keep going, keep asking questions, change
Mm-hmm.
the I can't do this to how can I do this? Because those are simple little steps that will open that mind up to receive more. Probably the third thing that I think of that really comes to mind is if you feel like you're going to get burnt out if you start a side hustle, it's actually the other way around. Right? I'll explain it this way. When you're feeling burnt out in a job, and Simon Sinek says this really well, the energy of when you're doing something that you resist and you're forced to do is an energy that brings you down. When you're doing something that is passion-based, that it lights you up, those are the things that you could be doing for hours that someone's going, go to bed, go to bed. And you're just like, no, just one more, just a little bit more. That's a different energy. And so when you take on this, and I found this myself, when you take on just a small side thing, whatever that could be, a small version of what you want to do, I find that actually almost allows the energy or balances out the energy of the thing that you've got to keep going to cover your basic needs. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
when you're in the negative, you're almost like, that's okay, I'll put up with this because right now I get to go home and do the thing that I'm happy with, or I get to only do this for another year, and then I'll be good, I'll be able to transition fully. But now I feel really inspired by this other thing that I'm doing on the side. How's that landed?
Love that. Love that. So something just came up for me as you were talking, and this is really specific for therapists out there who are, really driven by this idea of helping others, serving others in the community. And there's almost like this stigma around being financially rewarded as a therapist, right? There's just something around, oh,
Yes.
it's money's not the thing, I'm a therapist, I want to be able to serve the community. That
Yes.
is 100% great. And I love that. However, that mindset needs to shift in terms of if you can even charge a little bit more than what you're currently charging, it actually benefits the community by you doing that, because then you
Yes.
can create more impact. You've got the energy to be able to create more impact. You can take on more clients and be financially rewarded. And I think that also touches on burnout too. When you're not
Mm,
charging appropriately for your services, it's almost like this resentment can be created because you're not charging accordingly. So,
big one.
yeah.
That's a big one.
And I think
And
that's a topic in itself for another day
oh,
in terms
and I
of,
think just as we're talking about breaking free or stepping out of the perceived safety of an hourly rate, um, again, it's part of that layer of conditioning that,
mm,
oh, you go for a job and the job says that you're valued, your services, your time is valued at $30 an hour. And so we get used to this. And we even hear, I remember saying it myself, oh, I'm now worth $50 an hour. Yay. You know, and in fact, a family member said, oh, so-and-so is earning $500,000. He's doing really well. And I would have jumped on that and also said, oh my goodness, that's huge. My mindset now is, oh, I feel sorry for him because the more he earns, the more they own him. They own his time. Right. And that's, let that sit with you.
yeah, yeah. Goodness me.
Oh.
It's a big topic. And if you can't feel the energy vibe right now, it's something that Tung and I are really, really passionate about, um, helping people make that transition from, being an employee and having to sacrifice. Yes, I will say sacrifice time, because that's what you're doing at the moment in order to earn, that hourly wage. Once you make that transition to, charging accordingly based on, your skill set, it's a complete game changer. And I'm really uh, honored to be able to serve the people, in our consulting space and in the mental health space, because it's just needed
Yeah,
now more than ever in our community.
now
It's
more than
as a
ever.
collective, we need people out there to be able to, help in this space. So the more people
Yeah,
that we can help, the more of an impact we have as well, uh, to our community. So
yeah, yeah, I love that.
I
Wow.
think, yeah, I'll just take a breath.
Oh, it is. And the thing that comes up for me is when my husband said we had to go and get an ear, he has to see an ear specialist. We were seriously in there 15 minutes, and that was $300. Right. And I remember Sam goes, oh my God, that was literally 15 minutes. And there's also a story on one of the artists like that as well. Actually, no, you're paying for his study, his practice, his all of the things that he's managed to learn and dedicate time to and practice so that he could do it within 15 minutes and do a great job because he's never had to go back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. All right. Well, is there anything else that you would like to add to our topic of navigating? Actually, sorry, let me just pause for a moment. So, our episode is about navigating the transition to entrepreneurship. And I did say that we'd give some practical tips. I think Tanya really stuck to that. And I don't think I've actually added any practical tips myself on how to make that transition to entrepreneurship as smooth as possible. Again, I think it just comes back down to mindset. That really is everything in terms of whether you're going to follow through and make that journey. The other practical tip, and just a bit of a reality check, is it's going to get hard. This isn't, if you make that decision to become an entrepreneur and start your own private practice, there are going to be some challenges, especially if you're new to the space where you have no idea what you're doing. When it comes to even, marketing yourself, building a website, all those practical things, it can be quite overwhelming. So it's completely natural for you to feel overwhelmed and put it in the too hard basket. The thing that I want to stress the most is there are absolutely tools out there where you can, have automation. We touched on this in the last episode, where you can have automation in place to, help you in these different, admin tasks that are inevitable when you have your own business. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is, don't feel like it's too hard just because you don't know how to put yourself out there, how to build a website, all those sorts of things. There are the resources available out there. If you're listening, you've obviously found our podcast or you've found us on YouTube. So tap into those different platforms. YouTube is a great resource for being able to learn what things are available for me to learn, what courses, online courses. That's where we started. Tanya and I, we learned how to build our websites, our marketing, how to do advertising, all these things we learned online. So whatever you do, if you feel even that's just the slightest little hint of wanting to pursue your own private practice, just one step at a time. As Tanya mentioned, just the smallest thing. What's one thing that you can do today that will move you forward? Maybe it's just jumping on YouTube and typing in how to start my own private practice. I don't know.
Yeah.
But just
you'll be amazed. Yeah, you'll be amazed all of the resources that come at you once you start, checking it out and looking for it.
Yeah. But on that note, I think we've sort of covered as much as we can in this episode on this topic. But if you do have any questions in terms of, your personal circumstances, please feel free to reach out to us. I will leave our email address in the description field of the podcast and YouTube if you're watching us. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to be able to support you in making that transition. So the other thing as well, if we are not connected on the socials, the major socials, you can find us at AuthenTech, TECH, Edge Consulting. We'll see you next week for the next episode.
Yeah. Can you believe it already?
I know. All right.
Amazing.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now.
Bye-bye.